Good Thursday evening, one and all. Welcome to Thursday Night Geeks. I'm Bill Smith alongside Academy Award nominee Dan Davidson.
Hmm.
It is so great to be here tonight, buddy. Good to see your face. How's things?
Good to see you too, man. Doing great. Always fun to sit here on Thursday night and talk Trek with you and talk to all and get comments from all our friends. I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to a great discussion tonight. Was a little afraid that we might not have been able to do it because we had a severe thunderstorm warning in my area for most of the evening. But as I look outside right now, there isn't a cloud in the sky. The sun is setting. It's like 85 degrees right now. We're going to have the first good weekend in 15 weeks here in New England.
That's amazing. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm hearing some echo on the line, Dan.
Me
I'm not
too.
sure if it's you or me. I don't think it's me. But we're going to press on just in case. If the echo is too bad in the audience, please let us know. I just want to bring up one comment since he's graced us with his presence. Our intro is fancy as hell, Fark.
Oh my goodness. We have royalty with us, ladies and gentlemen.
We are,
Wow.
and for once, we are actually streaming live to Facebook and theoretically to Instagram, although it doesn't seem to work very well. Somebody will have to let us know. We configured it right, but it doesn't seem to be working. But
Oh, that's all right.
that's why this is a live show, right? So I'm fancy as hell, and Dan, you're just not. So
I'm just Dan. That's all right.
So, full disclosure, here in North Carolina, where I am, we actually are under a severe thunderstorm watcher warning, whichever one it is. I think it's warning until 11 p.m. Eastern. So, if for some reason I cut out in the middle, it's probably because I've lost power or internet or both.
Please.
Stop it. And then I will try to join on my phone if that's possible.
Okay.
But if it's not, then we'll figure it out. So
I'm going to have to ad lib if you drop out. That ought to be interesting.
yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. Well, at that
solo.
point, maybe you can get Garcia to bring up some comments for you and you can have
There
a
you
running
go.
dialogue.
That's right.
And good
Absolutely.
evening to Garcia in the control room. Garcia, always good to have him here. He keeps the trains running on time.
He does.
And keeps us from being here all night, honestly, because otherwise we'd probably suck at this, Dan.
Probably. What do you mean probably? We would.
Wow.
We do. We are.
You are. Your face is. So Dan,
No.
you told me before we started tonight that you had a special presentation, and I'm supposed to ask you, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I am drinking some whiskey tonight, but I'm going to prepare it live right here on the show. Get a little smoke going in that bad boy. Get some flames and some smoke. It's what you got to do when you're drinking whiskey these days now. I got some wood chips in there and getting some nice smoke going, and that's going to taste fantastic in just a few minutes. So there we go. I will try not to burn the house down. Smells really good. There we go.
Yeah.
Sit for a little bit. Nothing like a little. It's oak wood chips with apple whiskey. So there you go.
So how long do you have to let that sort of
I'll let it sit for 5 minutes or so. I mean, it's pretty good right off the bat. There's been times where I've done the smoke. I brought it to the table where Sue's sitting and she'll try it, and it's got that smokiness. It's just Crown Royal, nothing fancy, just Crown Royal apple. But I like it, and that's what's important.
So it's Crown Apple. It's not a whiskey. It's soda. Thank you very much.
It's Crown Royal apple soda. Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Whiskey's. I haven't done whiskey for a long time, so I gotta climb the ladder a little bit.
My wife works for a premium online alcohol distributor.
Well, maybe you can, hook me up a little bit.
Maybe I can.
Get some of that Louis Vuitton or whatever, Louis the 18th. What is it? I don't even know what it is. Like the $1,000 a shot scotch or whiskey
you think
or
that
something.
I would ever outlay that kind of cash for you? Do you?
Well, if you're a real friend, but that's neither here nor there.
No, because you were cheap as hell and you wouldn't buy that for me. So
I wouldn't buy you a free bag of dog poop.
No, but you've hurled plenty of them at me, so I don't know where you got them from.
There you go. I like
Something that's free. Are you dumb?
All right, I'm going in. Well, see, that was meant to be part of the tongue in cheek, so to speak.
It was a poor attempt.
I know. I'm sorry.
And he's tasting it. And
There we go. Oh, that's good stuff. I love this. The whole smoking whiskey thing is like my new, like, oh my God, that is so good. I love it. It's so good.
I'm glad you've caught up to 2005. This is amazing.
Yes. Yep.
It's good that you are experiencing all that life has to offer. I'm very excited by that. So
appreciate that.
Dan, tonight,
yes,
we've decided that to kind of get ready for Strange New World season 3, we're going to talk about the season 2 finale titled Hegemony.
Hegemony.
In case you weren't sure how to pronounce that word, Dan. It's not hegemony.
Hegemony, which is what I probably would have said if I hadn't watched the episode a couple of times before we started this broadcast.
Yeah. And we're going to kind of pull a Trek Geeks on it and talk about the episode and kind of tee us up for talking about 10 weeks of Strange New Worlds coming up mid-July.
Which is pretty good. As we've talked about several times, it's been almost 2 years since the finale. The finale aired in August of 2023. And here we are just a month and a half out of 2 years since we last saw Pike and crew in a cliffhanger that we have not seen the likes of since probably Best of Both Worlds.
I don't know that I'd rate it at that level.
I'm not saying I'm rating it that. I'm just saying it's a cliffhanger that we haven't seen since then. Because there really weren't any cliffhangers.
Voyager's had a cliffhanger, hasn't it? I mean, I've only seen the series through once, and
the fly things coming at Janeway, and
that wasn't a cliffhanger.
It was
a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was. It was a cliffhanger. Equinox. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Don't argue with me, man. It's not. Don't start the night off wrong.
All right. Hold on. Tribs, Endgame is not a cliffhanger. Get out of here.
Jesus, Tribs. Oh my God. Well, he's waiting for the next one. It's coming up. Beginning game is going to start in another season or so.
No, the second one came out. The Avengers were in it.
Very good. I like that.
Thank
that
you.
Was nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, we're going to talk about Hegemony tonight, and
Hegemony.
We're looking forward to it. We got a lot of discussion topics. Hold on, I got to answer. Actually, Ryan, Year of Hell wasn't a cliffhanger. It was actually broadcast as a 2-hour episode when it premiered.
Yeah, and it was in the middle of the season too.
Yeah. So, but he likes Generations. What does he know? So, did I say that out loud? I love you.
You
Ryan.
did. It was very loud, actually.
You want to know about some whiskey? I'm sure Ryan has exceptional taste. So, in all seriousness, as opposed to your Crown Apple soda there.
Crown Apple soda.
Yeah, smoked apple.
Oak smoke. Yeah. Well, the oak smoke was my wife's recommendation, and it's pretty good. So I'll give her credit for
it. Your face is a Year of Hell, Dan.
And I'm not going to argue with that.
Look at an endless Year of Hell, like Groundhog Day.
Oh, you just keep waking up to the same face over and over.
I'm getting word from Garcia in the control room that actually in Voyager seasons 2, 3, 5, and 6 all had cliffhangers, Dan. So suck it.
Well, okay. Now, hold on. Let me back up. I didn't say that there weren't any cliffhangers. I'm just saying that there weren't anything of cliffhanger that was like, oh my God, I can't wait until the beginning of the next season because I'm just not going to stop thinking about it for the rest of the summer.
Why do you hate Voyager? Why do you hate Janeway?
Say the same thing about Deep Space Nine, but I'm not.
Except Deep Space Nine cliffhangers were good, just like Voyager's.
Yeah. Well, Voyager was after Best of Both Worlds, so whatever.
Yeah, you shut your face. All right, we're going to reset the stage, talk a little Hegemony, and we shall return momentarily. Dan, one of these days, I'm going to forget about the end of that segment break, and I'm going to be doing the robot when it comes on.
Hegemony.
Hegemony. Careful, YouTube will probably flag us. So, and this reminds me, I still have yet to do the Riker walk at STLV.
We got to get you
Or,
to do that because I've seen it and it's something that you will never forget once you see it.
or my imitation of Mick Jagger. Remember Start Me Up?
Why not both?
Well, here's the problem though. On the Zepbound, I'm not really drinking. So I'm kind of, this will be my first dry Vegas in a long time.
You're going to go dry while we're there too?
I can't promise that, but I'll certainly be dry by comparison.
Oh, well, I don't even know why I'm going.
I don't know why you're going either. You could save me a lot of grief by staying the hell home.
All
Anyway, season 2, episode 10, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Hegemony. And I'm going to keep saying it that way just to annoy people. Somebody in the comments is going to go, why do they keep saying Hegemony? Not tonight, but I mean in the comments after it gets posted, some troll's going to, why do they keep saying Hegemony? So I thought it was a bold choice after, seeing the Gorn, in season 1, after having them teased a couple of times, to bring them back for the season finale in season 2. Especially, I mean, it's a controversial choice no matter how you pose it, because there are people who say the Gorn just shouldn't be in Strange New Worlds because of Kirk's log entry at the beginning of Arena. And depending on how you choose to interpret those words, there's room for the Gorn in this show. But I think we were all surprised it was going to be this much Gorn.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. There's been a lot of people that have complained about the look of the Gorn. We're all used to the rubber suit, and I'll be honest, I want to see that. I want to see a non-Enterprise rendition of the Gorn that we're used to seeing, and by that I mean Star Trek Enterprise, the show, because the episode with the CGI Gorn was just awful. I would love to see it. Now, are there different Gorn, kind of like different areas of their world or of their empire where they look different and they're like caste system, like soldiers and stuff like that? We have yet to see what's going to happen. I was very surprised that they came back to it with such ferocity as well.
Yeah,
this is not your TOS's Gorn, that's for sure. And it will be interesting to see, based on what we've seen, the small bits that we've seen prior to this episode. It'll be interesting to see what we have seen in this episode, how they're going to continue to build this whole Gorn arc. Is it going to end in the first episode of season 3? Is it going to continue on? Are they going to classify it all so that Kirk can kind of pretend that he doesn't know what's going on? It'll be interesting to see. But yes, I do agree with you. It was interesting. It was an interesting choice to have a cliffhanger end with this version of the Gorn in modern day.
I don't know that they have to classify it like Discovery did with the Mirror Universe, because so far Kirk hasn't seen a Gorn. He's never said, Starfleet has never encountered the Gorn. He's saying a creature called a Gorn.
Oh, Gorn.
He's setting the table for the audience. And of course, because it's the first time we've seen them in TOS, I mean, how could they have known almost 60 years ago that they were going to bring these lizards back and make them a central part of Strange New Worlds?
Yeah. With a lot of with not only a central part of Strange New Worlds, but a ton of history, especially with Lan. There's just tons of everything that happened to her, and there's a lot there to dissect, understand, make sure you got everything lined up in order correctly, because they do flashbacks all the time and stuff like that. But I'm not complaining about the fact that they brought back the Gorn, but it was a surprise to me.
No, absolutely. I don't think that I expected this, nor really did I expect a cliffhanger, quite frankly. I feel like a lot had to happen to make this cliffhanger possible. This isn't really cutting to the end of the discussion, but as far as cliffhangers go, I really find it kind of wanting. I'm not, well, even with, at Deep Space Nine, right? It's the end of, what is it, season 5 or 6, and Jake is stranded on the station. I think it's 5.
Yep.
And, Cisco realizes it when they've evacuated. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what are they going to do now? I don't have that feeling at the end of this episode. I didn't choose best of both worlds because, I mean, there's best of both worlds and there's everything else,
Everything else. Yep.
as far as cliffhangers go. Nobody's last 2 years were ruined because we didn't get Strange New Worlds. Okay.
Right. That's
Um,
right.
but I felt it was an odd choice for this show. Do you think that it's because they're trying to, with a more episodic style series, even though it's kind of not in a way, um, kind of evoke some more of that 90s feeling?
Yeah, I also kind of think that for whatever reason, and I could be wrong about this, it's just my take on it, seeing what happens, especially in the later part of this episode, I think the powers that be, Kurtzman and everybody else, wanted to throw action into this, wanted to have a big, big battles, phasers, explosions, space scenes, a little bit of J.J. Abrams Trek, which we'll get into in a little while. I think they wanted to do that. And I think based on everything that's been going on so far in the first 2 seasons, they didn't really have a lot to choose from other than the Gorn. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why they did it, because there isn't a great big bad. If they're certainly not going to end season 2 cliffhanger with Cybok showing up again, right? So which hopefully can we have some more of that, please, by
Right?
the way?
Right?
So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they decided to go with it. They wanted something that'll hit hard, got a lot of action, and based on everything that's going on, they just did the Klingons earlier in the season. I didn't think they were going to bring them back again. Don't want to overdo the Klingons. So it kind of makes sense based on what they've done so far in the first 2 seasons. So,
Well, for a show called Strange New Worlds, they spend a lot of time dealing with things we've already encountered.
yes. Yep.
And I got to state, by the way, I do like this episode as an episode of Strange New Worlds.
Mhm.
It's not a terrible episode by any means, but I think it's a little convoluted in that sense. You and I were talking about this, before we went live. There's a whole lot in Hegemony
Hegemony.
that seems like it's been lifted or emulates other things.
Yes.
And the one you brought up to me, I really didn't think about, and that's the
Yeah.
Alien tie-in, which should
Yeah.
seem obvious to me, but it wasn't.
It was. That's 2 of them. The first one I'm going to mention is, well, actually there's 3, but I'll stick with what you talked about. Yeah, Batel is infected with the Gorn eggs, and the Gorn shows up in the shuttle and leaves her alone. And I instantly thought of Sigourney Weaver in Alien Cube or Alien 3, however you want to call it, where she was impregnated and the alien was right up, the famous picture of her right up next to the alien's face, and the alien does nothing to her because it knows that she's impregnated with an alien baby. Exact same thing here. So I'm kind of like, really, guys? Isn't that kind of like, that's kind of like taken from something that everybody knows? Another thing, the very beginning of this episode, which I will tell you, I had not seen this for a year and a half. I've watched it twice since we said that we were going to talk about this. I did not even remember the first 15 minutes of when I originally saw it almost 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, it's a nice American looking town. This has Miri written all over it, where they decided to use an American or Canadian set to make it look like regular everyday Earth here now. And that was kind of interesting and a good way to save a buck.
Parallel Earth, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I think that backlot has been used in a number of shows, including Wednesday and maybe even Reacher, and some others. I noticed, I recognized it as soon as I saw it, because it looked, like small town Canada, I guess.
Right.
Not that I've ever
Yep.
really been to small town Canada, but I'm sure somebody in Canada can tell us that. And yes, I said Canada on purpose too. Being half Canadian, I figure I can.
You're allowed. It's allowed.
I'm allowed. So let's talk about the Gorn attack on Parnassus Beta, which I'm
Mhm.
glad you didn't have to say up front because you likely would have murdered that word.
No, see that one, it's spelled really bad, but it's Parnassus Beta. I mean, I would have said it fine. No, I'm looking at it right now, and of course, I said that. I did it on purpose.
No, sure you did. Sure,
I
you did.
absolutely 100% did, because I knew that you love that. But
Do you smell burnt toast? Tell me. No, you smell burnt apples.
Oak.
Burnt apples.
Parnassus Beta.
Everybody on on Parnassus Beta thinks that everything's going fine and hunky dory. Chapel's hanging along with the Cayuga,
Yep.
and Captain Patel. They're getting these colonists settled. Why we're building colonies in space that look like, I don't know, mid-century
Yep.
towns in the 1900s
Yep.
is lost on me.
It
I
is
genuinely
lost on
don't
me.
know.
Yes. I
It's
don't
like
have any idea.
transporting a Scottish village to another planet for Beverly Crusher's grandmother. I don't get it. But here we are. All right. So the colony's up, it's running, and then all of a sudden, one day, almost kind of like the crystalline entity,
Oh boy.
the Gorn show up,
Mhm.
and they decide that that's theirs. It's time to hunt humans. And it looked, I hate drawing a comparison to something else when I'm describing something in this episode, but I figure that it's really hard to not do. It almost kind of reminded me of Independence Day
When it comes
when
through the clouds.
it
Yep.
comes through the clouds.
Yep.
And it's at that point that things seem pretty dire and bleak. And honestly, at that point, I thought Chapel was going to get killed off the show.
I did too. I did not expect her to survive. I was, of course, we all know that she does, based on what we see in TOS. But
Spoiler.
it wouldn't have been. It would have. But then they would have brought her back or something like that. But I'm sorry. Let me back up. I'm surprised that Battelle was not killed off. Sorry. I'm surprised that she was not killed off. At least as far as we know, she wasn't killed. She's just now could die from what's going on. That was what was surprising. Excuse me, not Chapel. I'm sorry, was confusing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised that that she wasn't killed off too, because I really wouldn't pass them to kill off all the decent female characters. There, I said it.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns into a situation very fast that presents a real problem for Starfleet and for Admiral April and the Prime Directive and the entire tone of the episode. Everything from here on in is on completely unsure footing, and it's not good for Captain Pike. Genuinely,
it's not, and it's hard to not think about Arena when we're seeing everything that's going on, especially when he's having those conversations with the Admiral. I mean, they show the map, which shows the Gorn territory, and they're very familiar with the Gorn being a threat and this, that, and the other thing. But such a complete unknown in Arena. Now, granted, we've talked about does Kirk know everything, but there's got to be these, unless for some reason that we find out that these were all very secretly classified missions that took place in this episode and whatever happens in season 3. It is a bit of a surprise that Kirk doesn't appear to know anything about the Gorn at all. As a captain, you would probably have information regarding threats that the Federation has faced, maybe in the past decade, because it's only 10 years ago. It's one thing if you're talking about, way back Enterprise or Discovery or whatever. So, yeah.
Well, that's why I go back to, he never says he doesn't know what they are. He just says a creature called a Gorn.
Called a
Gorn. Clearly, somebody has to go in and try to save the colonists and the crew of the Cayuga. And of course, it's going to be the Enterprise.
Of course, it's the only one in the sector,
right? But they kind of have to stay on their side. They kind of gotta observe and report and all that stuff. And the situation kind of necessitates that they do a lot more. And I think that that's where really the entire episode starts to go wrong for them. Not only, do they get there and realize that it's a giant mess, but there's no real good way to get past the Gorn initially, except to pull a trick right out of The Empire Strikes Back and pretend to be garbage.
Pretend to be garbage and pull another one out of J.J. Abrams and have Spock space jump like we saw in the Darkness. Not in the Darkness. I'm sorry. Was it in the Darkness? Yeah, in the Darkness. Yep. When he was going from the Enterprise to whatever the hell the shit name of the ship was, the big ship, through all the space junk
Vengeance.
after the Battle of Vengeance. Yep. So yeah, I thought of that as well. So I've mentioned a couple. You mentioned Empire Strikes Back. A lot of stuff has been taken out of different things to make this episode. Not that that's bad, and not that it doesn't work.
No,
but
right.
The creativity factor, I was kind of like in my head a little bit. It's like, okay, how much more are we going to take from?
Do you think that the Gorn are a monoculture, or do you think that there's different species of Gorn? Because obviously you got the Bobby Clark rubber suit. And by the way, it's a travesty that they haven't found a way to work a Bobby Clark cameo into a Gorn episode. I protest.
Yes. Yep.
You've got the Gorn in Enterprise. And then you've got the Gorn in Strange New Worlds. So is it possible that they could be all different species, or do you think that there's just one Gorn monoculture?
I don't think it's anything like the Xindi. I think that it is something along the lines of what you see with insects. You have the soldiers, you have the people at the security, you have the queen, stuff like that. So I think it's kind of like that. So what we've seen so far have been like the soldiers. Maybe later on we'll see something more to what we're familiar with what Gorn look like if we meet a Gorn captain. I don't think the one that Spock fought on the bridge of the Cayuga, or what was left of the bridge, was a captain. He could have very easily been just another soldier. The look of these Gorn, in my opinion, have absolutely nothing recognizable at all to the Gorn that we're familiar with. Nothing in any way, shape, or form. So hopefully they'll be able to build on that a little bit. I would like to see.
They kind of remind me of Zorak from Space Ghost. I'm not going to lie. Just the way their heads look, that's just my takeaway. Regardless of whether we think they're a monoculture or not, it's clear that they're supremely intelligent. Their tactics have changed since the last engagement. They're an intelligent species. They may look like monsters. They may act like what we think monsters act like, but they decide to pivot and take human prisoners, and that's a definite escalation in this case for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a thought in my head as you were going through that whole sentence, and then it completely flew out, which is not a surprise because it's me. But
no, and I get it.
I remember what I was going to say. You were talking about how smart they are, and how intelligent they are. It's amazing to me that they have the technology that they do, and that they communicate through light, as we found out in the previous episode that dealt with the Gorn. And the more advanced and the more unknown does not equal good things when you're dealing with someone who is a threat like this.
No, this is probably the most vicious, ruthless villain that we've ever seen really in Star Trek. It's hard to compare anything from the 60s because television was different then as a landscape. So it was too in the 90s. I mean, the Borg were fearsome in Next Gen simply because they were this, autonomous collective that, sought, pardon me, to enslave humanity. And that was its own level of what the hell back then.
Yeah. Yep.
Since then, we haven't really seen anything that kind of comes close to that. The Klingons in Discovery, okay, they eat people. That's different. But nowhere near as fearsome as this, evolution of the Gorn.
I think you could describe, the Borg were malevolent. They were, they were scary. I think this is the first time that we've actually had a villain / alien in Star Trek that is truly terrifying. I mean, they are terrifying. They're scary looking. They got lots of teeth. They're vicious. They're practically indestructible by everything we've seen so far. It's very hard to kill them. And they do a lot of damage when their chest bursts out like an alien. So this is one of the top rated, scary, vicious, terrifying go run and hide under your bed type creatures that we've seen in Star Trek.
It's been a while since, Starfleet has probably had to deal with something, threat this elevated. Probably since the Xindi. Maybe there's something in between in that lost era, or the
Mhm.
first lost era, I should say. But or second, depending on how you look at it.
Right.
Anyway, yet I digress. But I think that the fact that this is on Paramount Minus has only allowed them to elevate this even more. If it were on cable, if it were on broadcast, the Gorn aren't going to be this terrifying.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of having it on a streaming service, regardless of which one it is. You don't have the restrictions that are in normal broadcast television. I think that's one of the benefits of having some of these services is you don't have to worry about. And I'm throwing them out there. It's not like I look for it. You don't have to worry about the language. You don't have to worry about the nudity. You don't have to worry about the violence. All of that is fair game for any of these shows on any of these streaming networks, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's more realistic to have all of this stuff. There is swearing in the world, there is nudity in the world, and there is violence in the world. And if we're trying to do a story that is believable, I don't have any problem with seeing any of that stuff. So
hell, I'm not wearing pants now. Christopher Pike has a real crisis of command here. He's put in the unenviable position of having the woman he loves, missing, captured, starship destroyed, by an enemy that probably will not let her live. And on the other hand, he's supposed to follow orders. But yet he's still got to save people. So this is probably not the situation that he expected to be in, or that their relationship would be in, for sure.
well, that's something I was going to bring up. I'm not sure that this whole relationship arc with Pike is a good idea for the show. And I've thought that for a while for a couple of reasons. One, sometimes it seems a little forced. That's not the fault of the actors or
No.
anything like that. All Starfleet captains always talk about from all the time that we have seen Star Trek is that it's the loneliest thing in the world. There's no time for love. There's no time for family, this, that, and the other thing. Yes, there are exceptions, but this is at a time where that would probably be something in the front of a captain's mind. And how in the world, I mean, I'm just, it's easy to say this. Oh, you just don't fall in love with somebody else when you're when you're light years away the next day and this, that, and the other thing. They both know she's a captain too. It's like, really? So you got two magnets coming at each other, which aren't supposed to connect, but yet they do. So I don't know. But you know where I'm going with that, I think.
No, I do. Let's talk a little more about that and the other points we want to make about hegemony. There, I said it right.
There you go.
After the sponsor break, we'll be right back to talk about fan sets and and us. Stay right there.
All right.
Dan, we would be horrible people. Well, you're horrible anyway, but we'd be horrible people if we didn't give our sincere thanks and love and gratitude to Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of both Trek Geeks and Ye Old Thursday Night Geeks, which we are doing right now.
Absolutely. They are friends. They are family. I just talked to Joe yesterday, as a matter of fact, buddy.
Nice.
Just prepping up stuff for STLV because that's only a month and a half away. Going to be with our friends again, and we cannot wait. They have over 500 officially licensed Star Trek pins. 47 days. Look at that. The magic
ring light getting
number.
in the way. Yeah.
I love it. No, we can see it. That's good. 500 pins, buddy. They release new stuff every single month, and today is no exception because there are 4. Yes, 4 new releases available right now. Head on over to fansets.com and get the newest of the new, which include the spiffy Starfleet Academy Sciences logo pin, a la Memento Mori style, as I like to say. Beautiful round. It's Very nice. Also available right now is the Starfleet Academy School pennant, complete with that spiffy new Phoenix logo. I didn't even know that Starfleet Academy had a pennant. So that's kind of cool. I hope we see that in the new show. That would be kind of nice. It'd be a nice flag to be flying at my house. And from Strange New Worlds, it is the latest of the micro crew pins, and it is the coolest dock around. It's Dr. Joseph Mabenga. You can get that right now at fansets.com. And the latest from the Cool Waters Productions limited edition signature series, it's Sam Bartholomeus as Mirror Universe Danby Connor. Look at that autograph. It's beautiful, just like he is. You can get them all right now at fansets.com, buddy.
Beautiful, just like he is. I'm sure we're going to get a comment about that. Although he is beautiful. I'm not lying.
I'm not wrong.
No, of course, it's our sincere hope that everybody goes to fansets.com, put a whole bunch of those pins in your cart, just like that. And at checkout, enter the special discount code Trek Geeks for 10% off your entire order. That's Trek Geeks in all capital letters, no spaces, for 10% off. And of course, Daniel, if you spend more than $30 on fansets.com, you get what?
Free shipping.
Free shipping. Free shipping. So don't miss out. Get those pins right now, yo.
Absolutely. Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of Thursday Night Geeks.
I'm going to call another crazy Ivan.
Here we go.
Garcia. And you can change the background to something neutral if you want. But of course, we want to talk about the new and expanded Trek Geeks store.
Boom.
You can shop official merchandise from Trek Geeks, including our brand new Fuck Cancer t-shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, because we can say that.
We can.
All proceeds, of course, going to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Something we are very happy to do to support, our dear friends who are raising money for that each and every year. We figure it's the least we could do. So that's available in both the purple color and a non-purple color, a bunch of non-purple colors for your wearing pleasure, Dan.
I love it. That's beautiful. It's a great design. Again, I'm going to give you credit, man, where credit is due. You come up with a lot of these designs. That design is perfect. It's to the point. It's a phrase we've heard a long time, and to be able to incorporate it into Star Trek somehow, it just shows your sheer genius. So nice job.
Well, and to get to it, you can go to trekgeekshop.com. I had to think of it because I've had so many URLs that I've been typing today for work. But trekgeekshop.com on our Dashery site, which is part of TeePublic. And of course, our TeePublic store is still there. If you want to find other shirts from other creators, you can get them there. And each and every purchase you make there helps Trek Geeks immeasurably. So that is trekgeekshop.com. All right, we're going to be right back. We're going to look at some comments, and then we're going to finish up our discussion on Hegemony.
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 God, I love Missile Command.
The best part is I know when the video ends, so I know when to stop dancing. Garcia's in my ear saying, I'm going to capture that later. Yeah, thanks, Garcia. You're fired. And for everybody who joined late, Garcia's in the control room, keeping us on task and on target. And
really,
we could, yeah.
How do we stay on task? That's like an impossibility.
Garcia, that's how.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
I am well. He's worth every penny.
Absolutely, he is twice that. Let's talk about some comments, Dan. Before we start talking about the episode, Trib said, "What? No strawberry martinis in response to your drink?"
I think that was to the fact that you might not be drinking in Vegas, and we usually have strawberry martinis when we go to
Ramsey. We'll see. I can't drink all that much, but maybe I'll save myself for dinner that night to have something special.
Nice.
Although sometimes the old fashions call my name. What can I say?
One of each.
Hi, Heather.
Heather.
I couldn't say hi before. Hi, Aaron. Just popping in.
Aaron. Good to see
Hi,
all these
Burley.
wonderful people showing up. This is great. I love seeing all these fantastic humans.
I have to agree with Aaron. The cliffhanger just feels kind of meh. It feels
Yeah.
like a cliffhanger on a show inside a show. Yes, it does.
Yep. Love it.
I couldn't agree more.
Aaron's a very smart
Heather
man.
was very kind to correct me on my pronunciation of hegemony, but I did let her in on the joke. So
Hedge money.
hedge money. That's the problem with America is hedge money.
Yep. There you go.
Speaking of, I want a Parallel Earth episode at some point. If we're going to be doing throwbacks, all right, that's fair.
I've got the sets already.
Why did we have weird Roman Greek throwbacks in our cities like DC? Well, that I can't speak to.
Yeah, it's a good question. Though. See, I never thought of it like that.
Helen says they could have brought back Chapel's evil twin. I suppose
That's
they could have.
She could, and she could have been the one that kidnapped the good Captain Lorca way back in the day. Who knows?
Lorca. Kirk doesn't ever seem to read his briefs. Hell, he never read Spock's personnel file and had no clue who his parents were. Fact.
See, we have the smartest viewers, I think, because these are great comments.
Certainly smarter than the host.
I noticed how you kept that singular.
I did. Maybe the rubber suit Gorn is like a different life stage, like caterpillars turning into butterflies. That's a distinct possibility.
It is.
Maybe he's a senior. Maybe he's like the Romulan Centurions, kind of a vaunted figure in their hierarchy, perhaps.
And they're reptilian, and reptilians shed their skin and they change and mutate and everything. So yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
You mutate.
I'm mutating right now.
I love this comment. I don't know. The JJ Klingons made me pee a little. Me too, in a way.
They are vicious. That guy with that earring.
Wait. In the wrong way. I love this comment. This comment is everything.
Oh my God, that's funny. I thought they were badass.
Willow brings up a good point. Moopsy. Very fearsome.
But doesn't look fearsome right from the get-go.
That's how you get sucked in.
Yeah, it's like Godfather 3. It's awful.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Oh, you kind of that was Kirk-esque.
It really was, wasn't it? Ryan loves my continual reference to Paramount Minus. I've been doing that a couple of weeks now.
That's pretty good.
Allie Martinez.
One of the best things about having Facebook streaming tonight is we get to see these awesome people that we haven't seen in so long.
Hello, Allie. 20-something-year-old Trekkie. Because I'm not going to out you on your age. And honestly, because I can barely remember how old I am. Let alone Garcia says old. He's not wrong. Thank you, Garcia. There'd be something extra in your next paycheck. 47 days, of course, 47 among the greatest digits in Star Trek.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see you either, Willow. Aloha, Pete Vanderpart.
My goodness.
Our dear friend Pete, the ukulele sensei.
Yes.
He have ukulele, will travel. We love Pete. He's been with us a long time. So great comments. Thank you so much, everybody. It's one of the great things about doing the show before a live audience is the interaction, quite honestly. And I know that seems trite, but when it's people that you've developed friendships over the course of a podcast and who mean something to you, it's great to have everybody show up and enjoy Star Trek the way we enjoy it. So thank you all so much. You're here every week.
And I'll add on to that too, buddy, is that, a lot of times we only get to see these people once a year.
Yeah.
So even though we're not seeing them, just being able to talk to them like real time and stuff like that and see what they're saying, it's a treat. And that's one of the things I love most about doing this live show. Because I know it's not about here being with you.
Wow.
No,
and I was going to say I love you.
Well, that's my way of saying I love you.
That ship has sailed. So let's talk about probably one of the most contrived elements of this episode. And that is the fact that Chapel survives and only Spock can rescue her. It's a lot of stuff has to happen, and they have to be incredibly lucky throughout that entire arc in order for him to pass by the exact window.
Exact window. Thank you.
And then she has to know intuitively that he's going to head up to the bridge. I get what they wanted as an end result. I really do. They wanted to have that moment, where they're stranded there, and they're each relying on one another, but it just it does not play well. I think it is the weakest element of the script, quite honestly.
Yep, I agree. Now, there are going to be some people that love it. Oh my God, they're destined for each other because they found each other. They were lost. And
sure.
I can get the whole, she looks out the window and sees the Enterprise there.
Yep.
And I can get the whole, figuring out that something's going to be happening. And maybe she sees Spock off in the distance. The same window, though, that's where I'm like, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. What are the odds? Spock, what are the odds of that happening? And I can't wait to hear those odds because they're pretty low. But it happened. And
yeah, they try to build tension, and I don't think they do so effectively. To the point where there's the confrontation with, the Gorn in the suit. Spoiler alert, Gorns don't like the cold. Which I guess makes sense because they're reptilian. I just thought of that.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Rewatching it for the first time in almost 2 years, I was like, yeah, this actually hits me worse than it did the first time I saw it. Don't get me wrong, I love Ethan as Spock. I love Jess as Chapel. I appreciate that they kind of got those two together in Strange New Worlds, and kind of the on again, off again sort of thing, which I'm pretty sure is going to be off again coming up in season 3, with Roger Corby showing up. But I like that they've added to that backstory, which makes some of Chapel's actions in TOS a little more native or understandable.
Yep.
But this whole rescue is just weird.
I got to go back to what you were just saying a minute ago, because I've thought of this several times. I love the idea of what has happened with Spock and Chapel. It's good to see that there was something there before TOS, so we do know why that Christine acts the way she does in some of the episodes of TOS. That being said, I think they have gone into that well too often in Strange New Worlds, and we're only in season 2, and it only started happening end of season 1, or was it season 2 even? And I don't mean to, and I'm not saying that it's bad, and that don't get pissed off at me, people, because I'm saying I think they've gone to well too often. It seems that any time lately, in what I can remember of the end of season 2, whenever Spock is on screen, or whenever Christine's on screen, or if they're both on at the same time, God forbid, all it is about is their tension and their relationship, and that bothers me sometimes, knowing what the characters are like in TOS.
I can see that. You could make the argument that it's a younger Spock, it's a younger Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
They're more, by the time we get to TOS, you're right, it's 10 years down the road, they're more seasoned.
Yeah.
They've spent some time apart. Obviously, something has brought them back together, and she's back on the Enterprise. But you're right, it is a little, I don't want to say teenage, because it's not teenage, but it's very sort of mid-90s rom-com, almost Friends level.
The way that their bickering and tension in their relationship has been over the last couple of episodes is, don't shoot the messenger. It's bonk bonk on the head to me a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get it. You guys are having trouble. He's supposed to marry her, and she loves you, and she's going off with Roger. That's welcome to humanity, and the way that relationships can sometimes be in this world. I think that this is a show that I think has spent a little bit too much time. I just talked about it a little while ago with Pike. The relationships are a very important aspect of Star Trek, but I think that they have focused on that maybe a little too much, especially with the Spock and Christine aspect.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We know that has to change, right? It has to evolve,
Yes.
because that dynamic will be forever altered with the introduction of Roger Corby.
So I guess what I would say is, and again, I don't dislike it. It's important. Stretch it out over more time. We know they knew when they were filming this that it was going to be at least season 3. Now we know it's going to season 4.5. So they have a lot of time that they can spread it out and do something with it instead of squeezing it all in to one or two episodes and making everything else seem secondary to what's going on.
From now on, I will refer to that final season of Strange New Worlds as season 4.5 for the rest of my life.
I did something right.
Because if they're not going to give it a full season, I'm not going to call it a full season.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like the 2 half seasons of The Sopranos that make up season 7, but they wanted to call it season 6 and 7 or whatever it is. Yeah. So we can't not talk about this part of Hegemony. And I want to laugh every time I say it. Hegemony. And talk about the introduction of Montgomery Scott.
Yeah.
I thought it was done really well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Scotty. He's a little younger than I thought he'd be, you know, because right now Kirk seems older. And, you know, in TOS, Scotty's definitely older than Kirk.
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know, Scotty looks like he's probably about 18, you know, compared to Paul Wesley's Kirk, who I'm fairly certain is pushing 40 at this point. You know, but I love the way that, you know, they gave him some additional backstory, you know, with regards to Pelia, and I thought it was really well done.
I love that. I think that's one of my favorite parts about the introduction of Scotty. And his name is escaping me. The guy who plays him is excellent. I think he is a perfect fit for young Scotty. I love his humor. I love his accent. I like his confidence, but his lack of confidence at the same time, because he's still kind of fresh. I love that there is a backstory between these two. Obviously, she is extremely smart and a great engineer, and maybe she is his Padawan, or the other way around, crossing the streams again. But I love how they kicked off with that kind of backstory right away, and I really hope they build on that later on.
Martin Quinn is the name you're looking for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do think they'll build on it. I think that something, as much as I don't want it to, something kind of has to happen to Pelia.
Yeah.
Whether she leaves the ship or whether something tragic happens, maybe that's kind of the fate that befalls all Enterprise engineers until Scotty comes along. You know, but it makes me wonder what's going to happen to Carol Kane's character in season 3.
Season 3, yeah. She's been a good addition to the cast. I like her. Sometimes I can't understand her very well because I know she's playing a character with an accent. Sometimes I have to rewind it just to make sure I'm understanding. And I think one episode I threw on subtitles so I could actually read what was going on. But I think she's been a good character. I think she's been a plus, and I know that she's been loving it. I've been reading some stuff about her and her time on the set, and she's been very, very happy.
I hope they don't do anything to ruin her, you know, character, or to, you know, to kill her or anything. I hope she just goes on to her next thing, because she's clearly been around forever as a character.
Long time.
And I would like to see that happen. I'd like to kind of believe that she's still kind of hanging around in Picard's era somewhere. Yeah. Maybe she's still at Starfleet Academy. I don't know. But I think that, or maybe she's back in Vermont. Either way, I think that would be really kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right. So before we kind of wrap it up, let's talk about the last minute rescue attempt.
Yes.
What takes us directly into kind of the cliffhanger and the Gorn taking the human prisoners. I like the development. I don't like the execution.
Interesting, because I do remember when I saw this the first time, and I did it again when I watched it recently, all the build up to that, and then they beam out, and I'm like, what the hell? Did they screw up the special effects when they made this episode? Why did that transporter look so different? And then a few minutes later, we found out why. And I didn't realize it when it happened. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? And it was a surprise to me. I'm a little slow. I understand. But yeah, I'm like, what's going on with the special effects here? Yeah, I did.
The control room tells me that Paul Wesley is 42 now. He was 40 the last time he was in
Okay.
Strange New Worlds, and Martin Quinn is 12 years younger than he is, so he's 30, not 18.
All right.
Thank you, Garcia.
Yeah.
See, on the spot fact checking.
Boom.
You know,
He's right there.
that's really what makes us different. That and the fact that you're largely unintelligible.
Mhm.
You know, I think cliffhangers succeed when you realize that there's something larger hanging in the balance. And with the Gorn, already know that's true. So there really was nowhere for the cliffhanger ending to go
Mhm.
other than, oh, the episode's over now. See you whenever we see you. And I think that's really why this cliffhanger is not as cliffhangery.
It's funny that you say that because I think that's the exact reason why the Gorn beamed the crew to the away instead of the ship. Because if it's just the Gorn and there's a big battle that's going to be happening, okay, fade to black. See you next season. It'll be a fight. We'll see what goes on. You know they're going to get away. Blah blah blah. This made it more personal. You know, bridge crew was there. So I like how they did that. But you are correct. It is not a. I'm not personally invested in this cliffhanger like I was with Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah.
Or Equinox.
like I know that Ortegas and Mabenga and Lon
Yeah.
and Sam Kirk are all coming back. I know
Yeah.
this.
Yep.
So I know that the stakes are somewhat medium.
Diminished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're diminished, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, the action isn't, shocking in the terms of Star Trek. Them taking human prisoners is, but maybe some of the colonists are gonna wind up, unfortunately dying.
Yeah.
But as far as our Starfleet crew, we know they're coming back to base.
Right.
With
Right.
Best of Both Worlds, we didn't know if Patrick Stewart was coming back to Next Gen.
Absolutely. Yep. You're right. It's interesting also that one of the things that I did like about what we saw in the final scenes and the battle that was going on, the remastered TOS arena, if I'm not mistaken, the Gorn ship is that three-pronged kind of like flying star. I love how they have kept that with all of these scout ships or whatever you want to call them that they're using in this,
Yeah.
and that they spin that way. I think that's pretty cool special effect, and I like how they kept it going from the remaster.
Yeah, I do too. There's a lot to unpack in just about 4 weeks. 4 weeks from tonight. And we will talk about season 3, episode 1, 4 weeks from tonight on
Wow.
Thursday Night Geeks. So, spoiler warnings will be up the whole
Mhm.
9, but we will talk about it that evening. So, be prepared, and we'll do that with pretty much all 10 episodes of season 3.
Bring your popcorn.
Bring your smoked crown apple.
No problem there.
As long as you don't bring the Wilford Brimley like you had during the Pan Can episode. I still think your blood sugar's not right after that.
All right, I won't.
All right, so a little housekeeping. Next week,
Yeah.
I am actually traveling for work, so there won't be a Thursday Night Geeks. But the week after that, Dan, we'll be back. You'll have bells on, hopefully some more things. And I think the topic we're going to do is unpopular opinions.
Well, also remember that we have a special guest that we're going to be recording with next week, and we got to figure out when we're going to throw that in an episode too.
Yeah.
If we can tell everybody what we're doing. We've got Brian Volk-Weiss that we're going to be talking to again to talk about the incredible line of action figures that are coming out. We've been trying to get him for a couple of months, but unfortunately he's been very busy. He's in studios and he's making stuff and blah blah blah. And unfortunately, it turns out he does not have Thursdays available for the foreseeable future. So we're gonna, interview him, sort of like we did with Bruce a few weeks ago, and then we're gonna bring it to a Thursday Night Geeks. But we can do it whenever, I guess. So if it's not next week, week 4, week after, whatever.
We may wind up having to reschedule him on our end because I might be on a plane.
That is correct. That's right.
My plane's heading out Monday night. So
okay, then.
I will
then
be
I'm going to get on that as soon as we get off the air tonight. I'll email him.
I will be in Boston, Massachusetts.
There you go. Great town.
So,
great town.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it's a great town. I love Boston. But so yeah, in 2 weeks we're going to do unpopular opinions. And I'm going to tell you, Dan, this opinion's going to come up.
Spurk. Okay.
Just as a little preview. So things that, that, and by unpopular opinions, we mean unpopular opinions of ours. Nothing is going to be, earth shattering. We're not going to get, shut off by YouTube or anything, or fandom's not going to turn
Perfect
their back on
example.
us.
Bill does not like yesterday's Enterprise. That's an unpopular opinion.
That's an unpopular opinion.
That's a good example. Yeah.
Dan is a terrible podcaster. Correct opinion, but very unpopular.
Truth. I mean, that's truth and opinion. That's two different things.
Well, but I mean, anyone who has that is, holding an unpopular opinion. And it's funny. I mentioned thunderstorms at the beginning. I'm now hearing cracks of thunder outside.
Okay. Perfect timing.
Everybody, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks on Thursday Night Geeks. And Dan, I'm sure I will be talking to you throughout the weekend. Everybody else, stay safe, stay happy, and live long and prosper, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night, all.